This is the Business Experience Show, where we connect those who want to know more about digital marketing, social media, and business strategy with entrepreneurs who are succeeding in today's marketplace. Follow our blog, join our online network, or connect with us at thebusinessexperienceshow.com. And now, your host, Lisa Caprelli.
Welcome to another edition of the Business Experience Show. I'm Lisa Caprelli. With me is my co-host, Brian Gapps. Our guest today recently left a successful career in the corporate world to pursue his passion for cooking by starting a food truck featuring Texas barbecue. Currently located in El Paso, Texas, my hometown, but those wheels could take him anywhere. Welcome Desert Oak Barbecue owner and pitmaster Rich Funk. Welcome, Rich.
Hey, thanks.
Hey, Rich. Congratulations on your success. I think we've seen an explosion of food trucks over the past several years. What was your inspiration, and how does one even get started in the food truck business?
The reason that we chose this route is because it was the lowest investment, which also means it's the lowest risk. Mm-hmm. We really wanted to introduce Central Texas barbecue to the El Paso area because we're in far west Texas, mm-hmm. and Central Texas is, quite a stretch across the desert. So, like I said, we wanted to see if we wanted to introduce it to El Paso to see if the people here would even receive it well, and it turns out that they have, and they actually love it. So our next step is going to be to open up a brick-and-mortar as soon as it's financially possible for us. We've been growing steadily. Could be a little faster, but actually we're growing faster than we expected. We have a ton of regular customers. When people try it, they become regulars because there's no other place here where they can get it. So it's worked out well for us. We don't really have any competition, although there are other barbecue restaurants, but there's nobody doing it like this. Not saying that it's better, but it's what we prefer, and people seem to really like it. So it's been a blessing.
Well, Rich, it's been so exciting to see your dreams come true because you've been talking about this for years. Your passion for barbecue. I mean, it just goes on and on.
Yeah, you could call it a passion or obsession, whatever you prefer. But yeah, I've been obsessed with it for a while, and my wife Suzanne finally told me, you're going to have to do this for a living or stop doing it because we're going to go broke. So here we are.
So, Rich, you make a point to emphasize Central Texas barbecue, and you all have to pardon me, but I didn't even realize there was a distinction among Texas barbecue.
Right. Most people don't, but when you think of Texas barbecue, you're thinking of Central Texas barbecue. The reason we're specific about it is because Texas is a huge state, and with all the different regions come different styles of barbecue. But what people around the world know as Texas barbecue is actually Central Texas barbecue. So the main difference is basically it's extremely simple. That's it. It's meat cooked low and slow, primarily beef. Simple seasonings such as salt and pepper. The typical wood used for it is post oak, which is a white oak, and it's a very mild flavor. The meat ends up being lightly smoky as opposed to super smoky, and it burns really clean and it's very subtle. And I think it lets the beef flavor stand out, especially with the simple seasoning. So it's what we prefer, and it seems like most of the world, I wouldn't say just most of the state, but most of the world really likes this style of barbecue.
Rich, so how was it leaving the corporate world and pursuing the entrepreneurial dream? And I'm a big entrepreneur fan, so this is what I love about you, and I want to hear it from your own mouth. What has it been like to become an entrepreneur?
So I guess I always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to do something. I wanted to contribute to the workforce, not just give up my time for it. I wanted to be a job creator, which, we're not really job creators yet because we don't have a huge staff, mm-hmm. but eventually we will be. Mm-hmm. I wanted desperately to find either a product or a skill that I could offer that people would need or want and actually pay for. For many years, I didn't know what that would be. And I racked my brain trying to figure out what I could do. What do I have to offer? And I didn't have anything. And then it clicked. Hey, idiot, you've got this passion for this. Why don't you do that? Mm-hmm. So that's how it kind of worked out. How I felt starting, Suzanne and I took a leap of faith because mm-hmm. we walked away from successful careers mm-hmm. and just dove into this head first. So it was basically we decided to go for broke. It's either make it or don't. Mm-hmm. So we were committed to make it work. It was scary. We lost the security blanket of having our corporate jobs that we had. There were careers. We were with companies for a long time. you lose a lot of benefits, a lot of peace of mind that you have because you can just leave your job at work and go home at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Now you basically don't sleep much
right.
and just do this all the time. But it's fine because it's a lot of fun and we enjoy it. So it doesn't really feel like work. I think it's a small sacrifice to make as long as you find something that you really love.
I absolutely agree. What has been challenging about becoming an entrepreneur?
Well, I guess first off, we don't have any business sense because we're not business people. I was a salesman in my previous job.
Okay.
So I helped people, with their business, but I didn't really have to take the reins and run my own.
Right.
So with little guidance, it's been a little tough.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that I wasn't aware of.
What would you advise someone, knowing what you've done in a short amount of time and how to do it right, per se?
Well, first of all, make sure it's something that you love that you're not going to get tired of doing, because that is a recipe for disaster if you get into something like that. Some people pick a hobby and they think that they can make a living out of it. Then they realize it's a ton of work and they end up hating their hobby and they never do it again.
Right.
So you've got to make sure that you really are going to be able to close the door behind you and not look back. If I could do things differently, I guess I would have done a little bit more research on how to run a business.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of books out there that you can read, and there's mentors. There are people you can hire to kind of guide you, consultants and whatnot. Get an accountant and be good friends with them and make sure that you've got your taxes in order and figure out exactly what you have to pay, how frequently, how much, be able to calculate that into your budget. There's a lot of things that we just didn't really think about before, but it's coming together now, so it wasn't a huge deal.
You risked a lot, so what convinced you that you might be successful at this?
We had a lot of cookouts at home, and people were always telling us that they loved it. And, at first you kind of think they're being nice. But then you realize, there's something to it because everybody's saying the same thing. And I know they didn't get together and come up with this plan. So part of the reason that convinced me is, I guess, I couldn't think about anything else. Once I got that bug in my head that I needed to do this, that was all I thought about. I completely lost interest in everything else I was doing, and my head and heart just were not there. I was somewhere else. So
I love it. I love entrepreneurship. Yeah. Were there any naysayers who thought your business idea was crazy? And if so, how did you deal with that?
Yeah, there were more naysayers than yaysayers. And that's because I think the average person doesn't think they could run a business. And some people are right. They can and they shouldn't. But most people think that you have to come from wealth. And you can't generate wealth unless you came from wealth. And I don't have an inheritance. I certainly wasn't wealthy. We did well for ourselves, but we weren't wealthy by any means. So I guess most people are apprehensive about taking something like this on, and I can understand why. It's a big risk, but if it wasn't for risk takers, we wouldn't have any commerce and industry, and we wouldn't be the successful capitalist nation that we are. So I decided to be one of those guys and just do it.
Rich, marketing can be very important these days to a startup business. What types of things have you done in that regard?
Okay, so that's one thing that I would do differently. We have done no marketing other than social media, which actually has been our savior because it's basically free marketing.
And you have a good Instagram and Facebook account.
Yeah, so we started Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We get a lot of feedback from Instagram and Facebook, not so much from Twitter. Maybe it's just the area that we're in.
Right.
But so that tends to spread like wildfire. Once people try your product and they find you, they start tagging their friends and whatnot, and it kind of starts to spiral out of there. I think it would be wise for a startup business to actually pay somebody to do some of the marketing for them. We are working our way toward that. Right now, we're just trying to get our feet on the ground, and as soon as we think we can afford marketing, we're gonna do something different just to kind of help us explode a little bit.
Rich, you've received some local media attention, and that's probably helped as well. How did that come about?
Somebody tipped off the local newspaper here, the El Paso Times, and they came out kind of late in the day for us. We opened at 11, and they came at 2 in the afternoon. By that time, we were almost sold out, and sometimes we sell out in 1 hour. So they were really pushing it. So they decided to come back the following day, and they actually got to sample more of the menu items. And then they wrote an article. And after that article, we had lines
phenomenal.
Before we opened. Yeah, so that was awesome. And then a couple of months after that, Texas Monthly Magazine came out. They sent their barbecue food critic, and he gave us 4 out of 5 stars, which we weren't expecting. I mean, we thought our food was pretty good because people like it, but wow, to get 4 out of 5 stars, I really didn't think that. I mean, that was a stretch. But yeah, we're in there, and they actually on our write-up from Texas Monthly, they claim that we are the best barbecue in El Paso, which we're very grateful for. And of course, we would never say that ourselves. So
right.
The only promise we make is that we make it the way we like it, and we do the best we can.
Today we're talking with Rich Funk. We'll be right back on the Business Experience Show. You can follow Rich Funk at desertoakbarbecue.com.
We're the Business Experience Show, here to help your business grow through change and innovation. Help us spread the word about our radio show. Please visit thebusinessexperienceshow.com.
Welcome back to the Business Experience Show. We're talking with Rich Funk, owner and pitmaster of Desert Oak Barbecue Food Truck. I'm Lisa Caprelli. With me is co-host Brian Gaps.
All this talk about food has me hungry, but the side dishes are as important to me as main courses. What kind of side dishes do you have there at Desert Oak Barbecue?
So we put a lot of care into those as well. Everything is homemade. Suzanne makes beans, like a southwestern type of bean, kind of a salt based with a little bit of spice, and they're fresh pinto beans made daily. Also, we use Hatch green chili in our green chili cheese rice. That's also really good. And Suzanne makes homemade banana pudding daily and homemade coleslaw. And I don't know if I have a favorite out of one of those. I like to eat all of them, and I always hope we don't sell out of them because I want to eat them myself.
Let's talk about those baked potatoes I see on your Instagram. The baked potatoes loaded with barbecue and what other stuff?
So the baked potato is basically, it's probably the biggest baked potato I've ever seen. They're these huge baked potatoes, and grown in Texas. We try to go local with everything. And we put a quarter pound of chopped brisket in it, and all the other condiments that you would put in a baked potato, like butter, sour cream, and chives and whatnot, and cheese. And once we cram that quarter pound of chopped brisket in there, people just start salivating, and it's really good. Sometimes I start salivating when I'm making it,
right.
But it's definitely a meal fit for a king. Most people share those, but there are some guys who polish those off and go back to work. But I mean, it's a pretty hefty lunch.
Yes.
Rich, you have a background from Italy, another culture strongly associated with great food. Does that background help you with your business?
It helps me with the love for food, not necessarily my business, although I grew up around, meat cooked over open fires and whatnot. It was typically a suckling cooked over an open fire pit. But I didn't really get into barbecuing until much later in life. I always loved it, and I loved the way, I love fire. I was kind of dangerously attracted to fire as a child. Yeah, I found a way to put two great things together, two of my biggest passions, fire and meat, and eventually it's what it evolved into. But I would say, to make a long story short, or to give you a short answer, no, my Italian background has not geared me into barbecue.
So, Rich, your wife Suzanne is from El Paso, and you are not. Yes. What do you like about El Paso?
What don't I like about El Paso would be a shorter list. I love it here. The culture is very warm. I love the bright, big blue skies that you get almost every day. I like the mountains. I like the desert. Did I mention the people? I love the people here.
Right.
Yeah, and I like Mexican food. Suzanne cooks it really well. I do not, and I have no idea how to do it. But I'm pretty good at eating it. I just like everything about it. I like the dry climate too. I don't have to deal with rain a whole lot.
Some Texans obviously take barbecue to an extreme. What's the craziest thing you've seen out there?
Craziest thing as far as meat being cooked?
Sure. Yes.
Well, I don't know, because that part of my Italian background has made me pretty adventurous with food. I've eaten a lot of things that you sometimes see on Fear Factor.
Oh no!
But I don't think Texas gets too crazy, actually, other than, cooking huge slabs of beef at a time that take, anywhere from 12 to 18 hours to cook. But no, I can't give you anything crazy. I think some of the southeastern states have some pretty crazy stuff, like alligator. I think is kind of weird, although I would eat it. But it looks a little odd. No, out here it's pretty much just beef and a little bit of pork.
How about any food truck wars for you?
Food truck wars?
Yes, I think is there a reality show about food truck wars? Any sort of turf battle or anything? Or are your location pretty set?
No, we don't even really associate with the other food trucks. We don't follow events, and we don't go to the food truck parks. As a matter of fact, we don't move at all. We're in one place, and our customers are happy that they can find us in the same place every time they come. We moved once, and we sold just as much there as we would have anywhere else. So we don't follow events. I think people pretty much expect us to be where we are. And like I said before, we're not fond of being a food truck. It was just the easiest way for us to get into this business. And we definitely see it as something temporary.
Where can people find Desert Oak Barbecue?
So we're in El Paso, Texas. We are at 11451 Gateway Boulevard West, right in between Cowtown Boots and Cowtown Discount Liquors, which seems appropriate for Texas barbecue. That's where we are.
And give your website and how to follow you.
DesertOakBarbecue.com. And you can follow us on Instagram at Desert Oak Barbecue, and it's spelled out BARBECUE. And on Twitter at Desert Oak BBQ, and Facebook Desert Oak Barbecue.
So, Rich, what are you most proud of so far? It seems like obviously you have many visions and business goals ahead of you. What are you most proud of today for you and your family?
You know, as far as this business, I'm proud of our consistency, because I know that that's extremely important when running a business if you want to succeed. We're very proud that we gained such a following in such a short amount of time, and that's because people expect people who expect quality they know they're going to get it here, and it's going to be the same every time they come. So we're pretty proud of that.
It sounds like you have some pretty loyal customers.
We do, we really do, and we've actually we've converted a lot of people who didn't think they liked barbecue, and now they love it. So we're very happy about that, and we feel very blessed. We definitely don't take it for granted. We just keep our nose to the grinder and do the best that we can, and I think it shows.
Rich, our last question. Your business hours are from 11 a.m. until sold out. That's a great concept that immediately creates urgency. How has that played out for Desert Oak Barbecue?
For the most part, positively. People understand that barbecue takes a long time to cook, and it's basically a finite item. Once it's gone until the next day, because it takes we got to cook overnight. I start cooking the afternoon before we serve, before the day that we serve. So we open at 11. The guys who understand how barbecue works, they're here lining up right before we open. The people who like to take risks or don't understand how it works, they'll come later in the day. And a lot of times I got to turn people away. Sometimes I turn away just as many as we've served because they just got here too late and there's nothing I can do. So some people do get upset. But for the most part, they understand, hey, it's barbecue. It's not like I can whip up a burger for you real quick. It's not what we cook here. So a lot of them are understanding, and they just come back another day and try again. And next time they're a little bit smarter and they come earlier.
Obviously, the question that leads to is expansion. I mean, why not get another smoker or whatever it takes?
Open up a restaurant. Do more. What do you say to that?
Well, we are building a bigger smoker right now. It takes time and money to complete, so it's not something you can whip up in one weekend. But we are going to quadruple our cooking capacity, so that'll help us stay open a little bit later in the day. We're still one thing to keep in mind is we plan on just being a lunch hours operation. We don't want to be serving dinner. We want to do one meal. We picked lunch because that's the traditional time for Texas barbecue, and that's what we're going to stick with. So eventually we want to be serving 4 times as many people, but we still want to be done around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because we have to start getting ready for the next day. And right now we don't have a lot of staff, so it's basically me and my wife and our daughter, and we got to start prepping and cooking for the next day, or we're going to miss the 11 o'clock mark. So things have to happen in order.
For more information on Rich Funk, owner at Pitmaster Desert Oak Barbecue Food Truck, you can go to desertoakbarbecue.com, located in El Paso, Texas. I'm Lisa Caprelli. Thank you to my co-host, Brian Gapps. This concludes the edition of the Business Experience Show.